Hello everybody and welcome back. I am KRX and this is going to be a beginner tutorial for Europa Universalis 4. This is updated as of mid-2020 with the Austria patch and the Emperor DLC. We have all the DLCs right now, okay? So I'm just going to quickly say that if you don't have any of the DLCs, we do have a Portugal run covering the game without DLCs and a Muscovy run also covering the game without DLCs. We have an Ottoman tutorial already. However, let's click on single player here and go into the world select phase. I think we're going to be playing as Castile this time. Now, this is the map world, and we can just click on Castile and play as Castile, one of the two nations that are sort of destined to form Spain. And we can look around the world here. In Europa Universalis 4, you are playing through 400 years of alternate history as a country, as a nation, as a state. And we start in the year 1444, so this is just breaking into the Age of Discovery. The New World is about to be discovered by the Portuguese explorers, Columbus and so on and so forth. And then eventually, Castile and England and France are going to be colonizing the New World and stuff like that. So that's the kind of things going on in this time period. And the game does kind of go through these major historical sort of events and themes and stuff like that in the game. And as running a country, that means that we're going to be looking at the nation's economy, nation's military, looking at our leadership and policies and technologies and philosophies and ideologies and missions and ambitions and all these different things, right? So we're going to be basically, it's a sandbox game. We get to play through 400 years of alternate history, and the world sets itself in a relatively historical starting point, and then from there, everything just goes to chaos, basically, in a good way, and we get to tell our own story. This is a role-playing game. This is a storytelling game, but it's also a strategy management game, right? Where we are managing a country. Sometimes this game is hard for people to understand, but what we're going to be looking at is the thematic view of this game. We're going to be doing question and answer. We're going to be building up a foundation based on the fact that we don't know anything, right? How do we make decisions? How do we progress in the game? How do we learn the game when we don't know anything about the game? It's very easy to take for granted what I know as a more experienced player, but I'm going to be trying to empathize with what it's like to be a completely new player and look at it from that perspective. So we're going to be just asking questions and sort of just moving through the different aspects of the game and building up a foundation and creating a process for building a strategy. So we're going to be talking more about the process of playing a country and making decisions rather than telling you how to play Castile. I don't know how to play Castile. I've played Castile once. It was years and years ago. I'm not an expert on Castile. This is not a guide to playing Castile. This is a guide to playing the game. I've realized playing the game a lot, and I just hanging out on Twitch with the community and playing this game weekly on Twitch, is that I kind of actually don't really go into this game with much of an overarching strategy. I don't try to have a plan for the country that I'm playing. It's more of a tactical just assessment of the environment and making decisions based on that. That you'll notice that this game has a diplomatically, right? The way these different countries interact with each other, it creates a different environment every time you play. And being able to assess that environment and make decisions from that is how you can basically work towards achieving your goals, whatever they might be. So we could play as any country. There's 400 different countries that we could click on. We could play as Ethiopia, or we could play as the Ottomans. We could play as Muscovy or Sweden, or we could just click on any of these countries, and you can see that it's selecting them over here. But for the purposes of learning the game and sort of having a good sort of framework, and also a country that is a recommended nation to play by the game, and also I think I can agree with this, is that Castile is going to be a good nation for a beginner player. So we can click on Castile here, and we have Castile selected. We can see the crest up here and so on and so forth. So let's get into the game here. Iron Man allows us to earn achievements, which could be really fun. Oh, I always play in Iron Man mode. Just for recording purposes, I'll do normal mode. Exactly the same game. It's just that in Iron Man mode, you're not going to be able to reload your saves, and that does create a lot of tension and storytelling. And I think that ends up being a good thing, but we're just not going to worry about that right now. But if you're a new player, I think you could do either option. It'll be totally fine. We are going to roll with the punches because that's just how we go. So we are in the world right now, and the funny thing is, now that we've started the actual game, it doesn't look that different than it did at the map selection. It's just that now there's some sort of clouds around here and stuff, so we can't see the entirety of the world. We're looking at the known world from Castile's perspective in the year 1444. We don't have like maps of the new world. We don't really have potentially amazing maps of Southern Africa, and maybe we know about the Orient and the East and stuff, but we don't really. I mean, we can't just send a letter to Ming or send a letter to Japan or whatever and expect to get a reply, right? We're not casually just sending emissaries out to those locations. So our diplomatic environment is basically Europe and Northern Africa and a little bit of sort of just the beginning elements of Western Asia there, right? And it's important to know that we picked Castile, okay? But the AI has selected all the other nations. Like all the other nations are still being played. We're playing as Castile, but Aragon is being played by the computer. Portugal is still being played. England's still being played. France is being played. And these nations are trying to play the game the best that they can. They are trying to better themselves, whether they're a big, powerful nation like the Ottomans or whether they're a weak, susceptible nation like Kandar. Right? Kandar is sort of like getting a big hug right now by the Ottomans. So it's likely the Ottomans will actually take this land for themselves, but Kandar is going to do everything they can to prevent that. They're looking out for number one. Every nation is looking out for number one. That doesn't mean that everyone is selfish. Sometimes nations realize they have to work together in order to overcome their threats and their obstacles and to better themselves and to grow and to expand, right? So little nations will look to ally people to defend themselves against the stronger nations in their area. So we are playing as Castile. And really, for the most part, this is a real-time strategy game. You'll notice that up here, the game is paused, however, right? And while the game is paused, we can still click on things, we can make commands. It's not paused in the sense of like a StarCraft is paused. We can click on banners, we can open things up, we can click things, do. I'm not explaining any of that stuff. I'm just saying the game is paused, but we can make decisions, we can enact things, we can click on buttons, we can make decisions, and sort of do things while the game is paused. The only thing that's not happening right now is time is not progressing. Okay, so we're at the 11th of November. 1444, time is frozen until we decide to unpause, and then we can just repause again. We can pause, repause, repause, so on and so forth. We are on speed 1, because again, this is a real-time game, so while there is also a pause, we could also affect the speed, and we might want to be on speed 3 is a good middle of the line, 3 or 2 is totally fine. 5 is very, very fast, and 1 is very, very slow. So there's not going to be really much of a need to play on speed 1. But we could play on speed 3 while we're at peace, maybe, and then speed 2 while we're not, except we don't even know if we're at peace or not. So this game, diplomatically right now, we are at peace. Our country is not in a state of war. This plays through 400 years of history. Of course, our country is not going to be at war for 400 straight years, right? It's not necessarily like Age of Empires or StarCraft, where you just build up your base, throw your dudes at another guy, and just you're constantly at war, right? Trying to destroy the other bases. Here there is an ebb and a flow to diplomacy and war and balancing those things and stuff like that, and working on our internal stability and such, and things that we can imagine, when it comes to running a country through this period of history, this time of history, this scale of history, right? So this is Castile. We know that because we picked it. We could see that there's some little numbers and crests and banners and things here on our sort of country. We can actually see some down here in the Granada area and one up here in the Navarre area. And basically what that is these are just, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see there's actually like a more localized fog of war. And we can't see beyond the fog of war, but we have a little bit of reach from our borders here with other countries. So, for example, we can actually see, we could basically just see what's going on in Granada. We can see that they have 6,000 troops. It says men, 5,000 infantry, 1,000 of the dudes on the horse. So those are the cavalry, different kinds of units. Here we can see that we have 12,000 regiments, is what we call them. Each regiment is 1,000 men. I'm just kind of explaining what we're seeing on the screen. So this is a stack of 12,000 troops. These are our standing armies. We have basically the first army, and we have the second army, essentially. So we have 2 standing armies right now. We can combine those and reorganize those and all kinds of things. Looks like we have a navy up here that's in port. So we can click here. We can see that there's some heavy ships, there's some light ships, there's some transports. So we start with a pretty good navy. It stands to say that we're a relatively powerful nation, right? Compared to like Granada, just in terms of size. This extra land is giving us more production. It's more taxation. It contributes more to our ability to raise a larger army compared to like a smaller nation like Navarra. It's actually hard to tell that this isn't our country, but it's a slightly different color of yellow, right? So Navarra here with 4,000 troops, different country. And there's kind of a different way that we can actually go about seeing that. If we click on our country here, it opens up a province screen. We don't need to look at this at all, but we can see that we've just grabbed a province on our country. And these provinces, you can see the world is broken into these different areas. These troops are sitting in this area. We can move them to this province, and we could sort of just tactically move these troops around to the different physical provinces. That's how the world is broken up. And these are the provinces that we control. They're the ones that are providing us with taxes and trade and production and manpower and so on and so forth. We haven't talked about any of those individual elements, but just in a conceptual thing, we know what taxes are, right? We pay taxes. We factories produce things. Manpower is how many people like can join the army, right? When we recruit for the army and stuff like that. So this stuff makes thematic sense. We're not talking about it in the context of the game systems. We're talking about it in a thematic sense, in the sense that this is all stuff that we are familiar with from everyday life and just being a part of human civilization today. But what we can do actually is we can actually click on other countries. If we click on a province of another country, we get their province screen, which is organized a little bit differently. And there's some different information on here because we're looking at Granada from the outside looking in. And one of the things that I want to look at here, and we want to look at here, is the fact that we can actually get a little glimpse here where it says Granada and shows their crest. We can get a little glimpse of their attitude towards us and whether or not in their opinion, right? The opinion is the number, and here it's -44. That seems not great. They have a hostile attitude towards us. They have a negative opinion of us and a hostile attitude. Granada does not like us. Granada does not like us. They are going to be someone that we are actively going to be working against because they're going to be actively working against us. And we could try to learn about why maybe this is by hovering over this number and reading some things here. A neighboring different religion. So we are a different religion to Granada. Okay, that's interesting. Wait a second. We have some map modes down here. In fact, there's a religious map mode. And if you don't have this organized the way I have it, that's totally fine. You can right click these and add different map modes. This is just how I have it organized. I can flip through different map modes here, but the one I'm looking for is the religious map mode. And we can see, wait a second, we zoom out here. Catholic. Europe is Catholic. Our country, right, where we just saw our country here, is Catholic. Granada is Sunni. Granada is Sunni. So Granada is the final sort of Sunni foothold in Iberia, in this European Iberia, right? And historically, like the Sunnis had a lot of control over Iberia, and then over time, the Crusades and everything like that, the Catholics have been pushing back the Sunnis. So the Granadans are kind of the final holdout here a little bit. And fundamentally, this creates an ideological divide between our nation and their nation, and we do not like Granada. Granada does not like us. And that is partly because of this religious strife. Whereas if we look at Portugal, for example, they love us. I mean, they have a friendly attitude, they have a nice positive opinion. They're the same religion as us, right? We have similar ideologies. We're a historical friend. Portugal likes us, and we can absolutely use this to potentially get an alliance with Portugal. So all of a sudden, we know that Granada is probably going to be an enemy and someone that we're going to want to conquer to spread our ideology through Granada, and that could be an avenue for expanding our country. It's not just like, obviously, we're not playing this game just to like, you know, spread our ideology, but that is thematically part of what we're thinking about in terms of who is our enemy and who is our friend in the context of the year 1444 from the historical context of playing Castile, right? This is obviously a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense if we think about 2020, but again, this is a game about a historical time period, and within that context, we can make decisions based on that historical context, and that can actually help us play the game better and make more logical decisions and stuff like that. So Portugal likes us. We could click on Aragon over here. We saw that they were a Catholic nation as well. They like us as well. Now that's not going to be true of everybody. Okay, if we start, let's keep clicking around here. Navarre, what do you think? Navarre is threatened by us, but they do have a positive opinion of us. It's just that they're a little threatened because, quite honestly, we're this big imposing country right here, and they're this tiny little country right here. Okay. We click on France. France is kind of this weird discombobulated thing. They actually despise us for a different reason. They have rivaled us. So France has rivaled us in this game. That's a little intimidating. France is a very powerful country, and we could look up why that is or how that is. But it goes to say, just with a little bit of historical knowledge, France is a very powerful, rich country, has a large, proud military, and actually, there's a little bit going on here. There's more than meets the eye with France. Actually, we'll talk about in the future. But France has rivaled us. Okay, we can click on this red country here. This is actually England. In fact, England here we could see England and is sort of has some land on France and is sort of taking a foothold on Europe at this time. And France is probably likely going to want to actually like England and France do not like each other, right? We could actually figure this out by looking at a different map mode called the opinion map mode. We can click on England and we can see that England and France are just like red, like they do not like each other. If we click on Castile, we could see that, yeah, Portugal and Aragon are kind of a greenish, a light green, so they like us. France doesn't like us. That's because they've rivaled us. England doesn't like us. We've actually found our rivals this way. There's kind of another way to do that. The Ottomans don't really like us. They're a different religion, so that kind of makes sense. Um, there's another thing here called the diplomatic map mode, and this just helps us highlight our own land. In fact, ironically, there's a little bit of green down here. This is actually, we own these little bits of the Canary Islands down here. This is a little province that's owned by Castile. Here's a little crest right here. And if we go back here, we can see these are yellow. We could hover over it and it says, uh, Canary, Grand Canary, owned by Castile. So we could actually find that through the diplomatic map mode. And we could click on Portugal and see their diplomatic map mode. They have some islands out here in the Atlantic as well. And actually, Portugal has this little province right here, Ceuta, belongs to Portugal. That's kind of interesting. We click on Aragon. Ooh, Aragon has all this stuff going on. They have something is going on with Naples for Aragon. This is in teal. This means that Naples is ruled by us or by Aragon, right, from the Aragon perspective, in a personal union. So Aragon is actually Aragon plus Naples. Naples is a subject nation. That means that Naples will have to defend Aragon, attack with Aragon, follow Aragon, pay tribute. Like Naples is essentially part of Aragon. So Aragon's strength is both Aragon plus Naples. Those two countries are basically in unison together, although still sort of they're different countries. If we click on France, we can see France got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. They got some blue here. They're allied. They're actually allied with France. Or sorry, allied with Provence. Provence, which is this weird discombobulated country here. We can see this normal green here. Really, this is crazy, right? The French region is just crazy. We can see a bunch of teal over here again, little vassals. France has all these little vassals. So France is not just this weird swiggly little bit. It's actually all these little countries in here are actually part of the French kingdom. They're part of the French kingdom. They're just using sort of the vassalage and stuff like that. But these little nations will help sort of support France. England, we can look at England here, and it shows that they have this land on mainland Europe. They have a little bit of land in Ireland. They have the Isle of Man, so on and so forth. So we can use the diplomatic map mode. They're actually, ooh, it looks like England and Portugal are already actually in an alliance already at the start of the game. So we've learned that. So Portugal is actually allied to England. England is our rival. England is our rival. So that actually is kind of annoying. Portugal, someone that potentially could easily be our friend, is actually rivaled or allied to our enemy. That's creating a diplomatic battle line potentially, but it doesn't seem to be bothering Portugal that much. It will probably bother England if we ally Portugal because then England's going to be upset with Portugal. It's like, why did you ally someone that we've rivaled? Didn't we tell you that Castile is no good? Portugal doesn't care. Portugal loves us. And what we could do is we could actually try to send, now that we've kind of understand our situation, actually we could look a little bit more at North Africa here. Morocco, they don't like us. Again, remember, these are all Sunnis up here in North Africa. These are Islam countries. And fundamentally, these countries do not like us just on that basis. Morocco is hostile. They have a negative opinion, different religion. They want our provinces. They desire Cadiz and Seville and Murcia. So they desire some of this land. They actually desire some of our land. They're actually telling us openly that they don't like us. Tlemcen actually, despite being a different religion, Tlemcen actually is friendly towards us. And this could be because they feel threatened between Morocco and Tunis over here. They actually kind of like us. That's kind of interesting to think we could actually ally and get an ally on Northern Africa, and that could maybe help us in destabilizing the region and actually maybe in the future attacking Morocco, right? So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a sneaky thing there. If you click on the crest, it sends you to their diplomacy screen, and we can open these different tabs here. And you can see there's tons of different diplomatic actions you can do. You can influence the nation. You can ask for different kinds of military access. You could send them gifts or loans or subsidies. And you could do all these different covert actions, which is important. We will talk about that. We could just improve relations. We could try to make Morocco like us more. I mean, fundamentally, we know that they're hostile. Like that's not a good opinion of us or an attitude towards us at all. It's going to be hard to undo that attitude. But we could try to send it. We could actually just improve relations. We could just try to send one of our diplomats to work on Morocco, be like, hey, I know you guys don't like us, but maybe we could work something out, right? They totally do not want to ally us. There's a big red X right here. No. If we hover over this X, it tells us why. Hostile attitude towards Castile. They do not want to ally us. They're hostile towards us. No way. But Tlemcen, we just noticed, they're friendly towards us. So there's a big green check mark right here. They will ally us because of these positive reasons. They have a friendly attitude. That's a good reason to want to ally someone who's a friendly attitude. They appreciate how strong our army strength is. They appreciate how strong our navy strength is. They appreciate our diplomatic reputation. So these are all the reasons they want to ally us. And then there's a few reasons why they don't. Not the same religious group, and they have a negative opinion, right? Even though they have a friendly attitude, their actual opinion is slightly negative, right? This is a spectrum between minus 200 and plus 200. So minus 10 is not really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but it is still technically negative rather than positive. But we could work on sending a diplomat there to get that much higher if we wanted to. But they're willing to accept the alliance just anyways. Now, I don't know if we want to ally Tlemcen, to be honest. It could be that we want to attack Tlemcen. We might want to expand into northern Africa, but allying Tlemcen could be an interesting way to try to weaken Morocco, because otherwise Morocco and Tlemcen might team up against us, or Tunis and Tlemcen might team up or something like that. Tunis is another big nation down here. They're feeling threatened. They're actually willing to ally us because they're feeling threatened. They think that we're actually going to sort of work against them, and they're actually thinking they'd rather ally us than have us be their enemy. They're thinking like they don't like us, but they know that if they could ally us, they'd feel a lot safer. That's kind of interesting. Um, so that we could actually ally Tunis. That would be an interesting idea. But Aragon actually, you know, right off the bat, I'm not even going to think twice about this. Aragon is a big, powerful nation. They have their own subjects. They're looking good. I think we send an alliance to Aragon. I think that's potentially a no-brainer. Let's do it. Let's send the alliance. Confirm. Yes, it tells us right here. It's going to say yes. There's no guessing game here. If it says yes here, if there's a green check mark, they will accept no matter what. It doesn't matter what reasons they have to say no. If this is a green check mark, they will accept. There is no guessing here. There's no RNG in this process. There we go. Aragon has accepted our offer to enter into a military alliance. Hoorah! Let's go. So if we go to our diplomatic map mode here, click on it. Now we have blue. Now we have blue. Aragon is blue. And we could continue to maybe ally Portugal, or we could continue to ally other people and stuff. But we knew that Aragon is a nice, big, powerful country, and we want to ally other big, nice, powerful countries. We might want to ally Portugal, we might not. It kind of depends. Because Portugal might be an opportunity for us to attack and expand our nation potentially. They seem to be much weaker than us. They might be relying on us to protect them, but what do they do for us, right? We have to ask those questions. So basically, what we've been doing is just looking around our diplomatic ecosystem. We don't like Grenada. We don't like Grenada. We don't like Morocco. We're going to want to expand into these areas here. We also have Navarra here that is threatened towards us and stuff. So what we actually could do, one of the first things we could do to give us some guidance, okay, we've talked a little, we've just been basically staring at the map, guys. We haven't talked about any of these buttons up here. We've talked a little bit about the map modes down here, just using the diplomatic map mode and the opinion map mode and the religious map mode. And anytime, guys, I do apologize for not saying this immediately. Anytime you get off of the map mode that's most familiar, that we've been spending most of our time in, it's called the political map mode. It should be right here for most everybody. It's called the political map mode. You do need to go back to political map mode just so you can actually see the world in a way that makes sense, right? It chops the world back up into the different provinces that are controlled by the different countries so we can see who's who and who's where, right? So I'm always defaulting back to political map mode. Just needed to mention that. Just needed to mention that. We have some red up here. We have these banners. These are trying to help us with what's going on. It's saying there's some disputed successions. This is having to do with PUs and royal marriages and stuff. I'm actually not really that concerned about that right now. We're gonna cancel that. Truces are gonna expire. We have a truce with Grenada. This is telling us we have a truce with Grenada. It expires in 4 years. So we actually can't attack Grenada. We have a military truce with them until 1448. That gives us time to prepare and set things up. And I don't know, maybe we want to attack Morocco since we don't have a truce with Morocco, but we do have a truce with Grenada. So we'll leave that there to remind us that we have that truce with Grenada. It says that we have free advisor slots. We can click on this and it takes us to the court screen, the leadership screen, and we can see there's no advisors in these slots. So we can click on these, we can see, oh, there's advisors here, but they cost us money. They cost us money. We have 70 ducats right now, and it costs us a certain amount of monthly. We don't know if that's a lot or a little, so we're going to need to look at our economy to make the decision on whether we want to recruit advisors or not. This one's talking about low Crownland at 29.99. We need to get this to 30. We'll talk about this in the future, but let's look at this red one that's talking about too few rivals, okay? This one's flashing at us, too few rivals. And it's saying that if we click on this, it goes to our own personal diplomacy screen. This isn't the same diplomacy screen. If we click on Aragon, we have all these choices here to interact with them, right? If we click on this, it takes us to our own diplomacy screen. And anytime you want to get back to there, you just hit this big crest up here. And you can see that the world, our actual, without talking about any of this stuff or teaching any of this stuff, we can see that our country is divided into these different tabs, right? We have the court, our leadership, including our advisors. We have the economy, we have trade, different ideas or philosophies. We have different technologies. We have missions. This is actually really important. This will help guide us. This will help tell us what to do, what we can do. It says prepare for Reconquista. Oh, I think that's talking about Granada. Claims in Aragon. Okay, this is talking about going to war with Aragon. We're actually allying Aragon, and that's going to be okay. Allying Aragon is going to be okay. And this is telling us, so we have missions here. I don't want to talk about that too much. I'm sorry, guys, to get distracted. That's just that mission tree is looking really juicy. Um, but we're not going to worry about that too much. Here we're going to go to our rival. We're going to click on this to go to our diplomacy screen because it says we don't have enough rivals. Here we have rivals, but you can see there's no one selected. These are unselected areas. These are empty slots. So we can click on this, and these are all the different nations that we can rival. And it highlights them as we hover over them. We can, oh, Burgundy. Burgundy's up here. Okay. We can highlight Morocco. Ooh, Morocco's down here. Good, good, good. So we can kind of highlight these different guys and it can sort of select who we want to rival. And the truth is the missions might actually help guide us on this and stuff like that. We know that France has rivaled us. We know that France has rivaled us. England has rivaled us. We could just rival the people back that have rivaled us. What we could also look to see is who has Aragon rivaled? Aragon has rivaled Morocco and Tunis. It probably makes sense for us to rival, and Portugal is enemies with Morocco. It would make a lot of sense, I think, to rival Morocco. Morocco doesn't like us. Aragon doesn't like Morocco. Morocco doesn't like us. Morocco doesn't like Aragon. I think we're going to rival Morocco. It makes sense that we're going to be working against Morocco and trying to go to war against Morocco to take some of the southern land here and get a foothold in northern Africa. Okay. We don't want to rival Aragon. We just sent them an alliance offer. We want to be friends with Aragon. They're a nice, big, powerful country. We can team up with them. It does say that we could rival Portugal. It does say we could rival Portugal. I don't know if we're going to want to do that. I think we're definitely going to rival France because they've rivaled us. There's not going to be any good blood there. It's just going to be bad blood with France basically for the next little while. And likewise, England has rivaled us. England has rivaled us. It's kind of a tricky situation. We actually have a land border with England, ironically. We think of England as being up here in the British Isles, and it is, but we actually have a land border with England. So we could actually try to conquer some of this land, but that will make France really angry because France thinks this is kind of their land too. We don't need to rival Burgundy. They're kind of too far away to be relevant. We don't really care that much about Burgundy, even though it does say that they've rivaled us. They've rivaled us. I don't want to rival Aragon. I think we might actually want to ally Portugal. So I don't think we really necessarily want to rival Portugal. I don't think we really want to rival Portugal. So maybe we'll just do England. We'll do England and see where that leads. That'll be fine. So we got a rival slotted in. That fixed that issue over here. And I think for the most part, guys, we've just kind of talked about the thematics of what we're doing, right? We've looked at our diplomatic situation. We've spent one of our diplomats. We can see over here, we have 3 diplomats. Two of them are free. One of them is coming back in 2 days. He just went to Aragon. He just went to Valencia and sent an alliance offer. Up here, it says we have 2 out of 3 diplomats. What we should probably do actually is let's slot in our other diplomats. Let's slot them in, get them doing something. Get them doing something while we're kind of just... We could butter up Tlemcen. I don't know if we want to ally them. Well, do we need to butter them up, though? Tunis doesn't like us anymore because we're allied to their rival. We could try to make Tunis happy because it's going to be a while before we actually attack Tunis. So we could try to make them happy. And maybe we spend... So basically, I'm spending a diplomat. And this diplomat is passively just existing in Tunis. And just building up an improved relation. So if we click on Tunis now, we can see they have a negative opinion of us because we just allied their rival. And they don't like that. They don't like that we've allied Aragon. We're like, no, it's okay, guys. It's okay. We're going to send a diplomat to improve relations to overtake that -25. You can see we got a +3 because of improved relations. Okay, +3 because of improved relations. We're also going to send our other diplomat to Morocco, but we're going to use them as a spy. okay? Because what we need to do is to go to war with Morocco, we need a justification for that war. We need a justification for this war. So we're going to go to diplomacy, but instead of improving relations and offering alliance and doing all this beneficial stuff, we're going to go to covert actions. And we're to send this diplomat to Morocco as a spy to build a spy network. Because what you could do with this spy network is once you build it up, kind of like when you build up opinion, you can build up a spy network and you can spend that spy network to do something called Fabricate Claim. We need a claim to attack Morocco. We need a reason. We need a justification. We need a casus belli for war, is what it's called. It's called the casus belli, a cause for war. So this spy is going to be working in Morocco to actually set the stage diplomatically that we have a just reason to go to war. So we can see now we have one diplomat that is working in Morocco to build a spy network. A 1.84 every month is how much progress they're going to get. We need 20 to make a claim, so it's going to take about a year, and we'll have a claim in Morocco. And we don't have a truce with Morocco, so if we can get a claim, we might actually be able to attack Morocco pretty quickly. Over here, we're building up opinion with Tunis. We've just sent a alliance offer to Aragon. We have a diplomat coming back in a couple days. We can send an alliance offer to Portugal if we'd like to do that. We can also send one potentially to Navarre, and there might be a reason why we care about that. There might be a reason why we want to ally Navarre, but we have to look at our missions to sort of get a better assessment of things. We need to look at our internal situation. What are our missions? What is our economy? What kind of advisors can we hire? How do we manage our trade situation? These are things that we'll look at in the next episode. Right now, we've been looking at our diplomatic ecosystem. We've been looking at how to see the world, how to see the map, how to click on the different things and learn about our neighbors and figure out how to use our diplomats to start building those important diplomatic interactions, whether they're covert actions or whether they're alliance actions, in order to progress in the game and work towards our ultimate goals and ambitions. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Keep in mind that there is going to be a tutorial playlist down below, right? A playlist down below. We also have finished tutorials for, like I said, Ottomans with all DLC. This has been Castile with all DLC. We will continue this in the next one, looking at our internal situation. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.